Hello, welcome to Star Wars Spelt Out. I'm your host, Josh Chapman, and today, episode 6 of Ahsoka has landed. Forget all that nonsense last week. Everybody, dry your tears, put a fresh pair of undies on, get a grip for goodness sake. Let's talk about the new episode. We've got another full deck here today. I'm just going to start in the... Actually, you know what? I'm going to start the opposite way. Hello, Catherine.
Hello. Hello there.
And welcome him back after his summer holiday. He's just got... Looks like he's got a little bit of sun, just looking on the screen here. Looking like a typical British man who's been abroad on a little holiday. Andy Bell, how's it going? Welcome back.
Hello. It's sunburn.
I mean, I know it is. We're Australians. We can spot it a mile away. You just look like a bloke who's been on an Australian Ashes tour. It's in the Barmy Army, sitting out in the stands for too long. That's why they always had the first test in Brisbane. They all get sunburnt on the first day of the first test. And bringing up the rear here, man, he's pretty happy with himself.
Thrawn.
Thrawn. That Mohl has
Greetings, young Chapman. Very happy to see you.
Well, at least now that I know that if I'm talking to you directly right now, you're not spamming me with memes and video compilations of people setting Anakin and Ahsoka to whatever that some stupid song was or whatever it was. Like, give me a break, man.
How many memes have I sent you in the last? Are you pleased to be part of my distribution?
I can't even keep track. Like, there's Instagram and Facebook Messenger and all sorts of stuff.
It's been about 100, and he's replied to about one of them. So
yeah, I was every time my phone would go off, I'm like, something important happening. No, it's not. It's just one of the.
It's just hyperactive Matt Mohl sharing reels.
Yeah. Sharing a little. I'm like, I hope he's getting some actual work done. Is anybody watching the finance industry right now? Because Matt's off the clock.
We're doing okay, mate. We're doing okay.
See, Catherine's on holidays at least. Well, Catherine and Andy have both been on holidays. You know, if I was getting some spam from those guys, it'd be more acceptable. But you're supposed to be working.
I'm just a good multitasker.
I guess so. Andy, obviously you missed last week or last couple of weeks. You've been away, but just to bring up to speed, how are you enjoying the show as a whole? Maybe not including this week because we're about to talk to it.
No, I've really enjoyed it. It's I think I was saying to you guys over the last couple of weeks or so, I'm just really overjoyed just how progressively better it's getting, episode on episode. It's really, really ramping. The pacing, which I thought was a little bit slow and a little bit complicated at the very, very beginning, is just the whole thing is accelerated. And I think the first time I spoke to you guys about this, we were talking about the length of an episode. And today, for example, I won't go into detail now, but today really demonstrated just that Filoni just simply is not changing anything for the sake of the story, which I think is great. So yeah, no, I'm really enjoying it. And as I said, progressively, week on week, this episode is really shining for me.
That's good. And now, Catherine, you are on holidays. It's school holidays, as I'm aware, because I've got a young person hanging around the house who's not usually home. So you actually were back on. You were back on straight away drop time, as far as I know. You didn't have to wait till after school today.
No, I could watch it. Yeah, I think I watched it pretty much on 11 o'clock, but had to close some curtains a little bit and deal with the fact that, neighbours, I don't know if there's a leaf blower or some kind of machinery.
Yeah, someone works from home. It's always, the noise during the day is always somebody getting their lawn mowed or something's going on. Construction down the street.
Leaf blowers, they are my mortal enemy at all times.
I
will destroy them.
I own a leaf blower. It's very handy. Every need it now and then. So, what did we clock in this week, Matt?
48 minutes.
48
with credit.
With credits. Not too bad. I realized when I started I didn't actually check. I quickly just sort of pushed the thing and got straight into it. But
That really surprises me actually, because I thought it was actually shorter than that. It wasn't a particularly action heavy episode, but I actually thought it was over and done quite quickly. But anyway, good, great. That's an indication of how good the episode was.
Now, is this the first self-referential episode title in a Star Wars anything? Like that blatantly self-referential?
Never been done. Till now.
I'm not good with all of the names of things. I mean, I should, because there hasn't been that many, and The Mandalorian tended to follow the same naming convention, except when it didn't. But no, yeah, that's sort of, referencing itself. And Huang saying a long
Clang,
time ago.
yeah. So, I mean, the episode was called Far, Far Away. Not far, far, far away, because the galaxy is far, far, one far further than the last one. Or somebody pointed out to me on Twitter, it could be far away, because it could be closer on the other side. But anyway, whichever way you want to look at it. But it does. It starts with so we were just sort of debating the end of last week, like, where are we going to pick this thing up? Are we going to drop straight to Sabine? Are we going to follow Ahsoka? And it kind of did a bit of column A, bit of column B, but we did pick up pretty much straight where we left off with the whales going through some kind of groovy disco hyperspace. This ain't your mum's hyperspace. What was this one?
This is Purgle space, mate.
Is that what happens when you put the foot down? Is that ludicrous speed that we're looking at?
It's a little zanier.
It was a little zen. I was waiting for the, like, it should have had the the disco mega mix of Star Wars. Can somebody sync that up, please? Get the disco 12-inch or whatever it is on the to the Purgles. Yeah, that was quite groovy. So I don't know whether that's if you just go and you're changing galaxies, or if you just put the foot down, or that's just how the Purgles roll. It wasn't colourful in Rebels. Do you recall? Anybody recall that when they jump?
I don't think we saw.
We didn't see them in space. So they just sort of left, didn't they? Yeah.
You saw them just leave.
Yep. No, fair enough. But we did. So we caught up with Ahsoka and the Tenet 1000, sort of sitting tight in the mouth of the whale, getting ready to sort of figure out where they're going to go. But I don't know. Did you feel like Ahsoka kind of lost her shine again? She kind of went back to sort of drabbing it up again.
She's just tired from hyperspace travel. But Hu Yang is just, pulling out all the witty barbs. He's on fire.
Yeah.
If they have like a Tales of the Jedi or a Visions type thing narrated by David Tennant as Huang, telling us all of these stories that he's alluded to, I'm in for
just
that.
Like sitting in front of a fireplace, sort of like, hello. I can't do a David Tennant, but
yes.
Does anybody else?
Do you think that?
Go, Andy. Yeah, mate.
No, I was just going to say. Do you think that he is the oracle for the Journal of the Wills? Do you think he's got the Journal of the Wills in his programming? Do you think these are the stories that he's giving out now?
Oof, good soft reboot there.
Is the Journal of the Wills canon? Or is it only?
Well, it must be. The Wills are canon, aren't they? Because we know that the Guardians of the Wills are canon. So I don't know. I'm asking the question.
When you said History of the Galaxy Part 1, was anybody else thinking History of the World Part 1, the Mel Brooks film? That was like the first thing I thought of. Is anybody else familiar with that film? That's two Mel Brooks movie references I've made in the last 2 minutes here. But essentially, they're sort of traveling through hyperspace. They're waiting to figure out where they're going to end up. And yeah, they're sort of just getting ready to see what's on the other side, really. They just sort of didn't seem like Ahsoka wanted to sort of talk too much about what had happened, but she kind of just drops that Sabine sort of willingly went and potentially has doomed the galaxy.
Well, yeah, I think Hu Yang was trying to get what happened in the World Between Worlds story, and she wasn't ready to tell him about the Anakin Chronicles.
He was like, well, he would just be very sensible. He was like, well, I guess that would have been cool to see, but not really important to what we're doing right now, Ahsoka. And I'm like, you're absolutely right, Hu Yang. It was cool to see, but ultimately not that important to what we're doing right now.
Very important,
Ahsoka.
don't you Don't you downplay last week.
Well, after this week, I think I can downplay it all I like. So then, yes, we arrive. We're on the hyperspace ring, and Sabine is locked up. So we did sort of. I mean, we sort of said that we'd probably pick up with those guys again. Obviously, we stopped in with Ahsoka, but she's been locked up for however long it takes to travel these things. I don't really know. They never really give you a great approximation of time of how long this stuff must take. But it didn't look like they left it with a good book or anything.
No, but I'm glad that in some sense that last week we didn't see them, because it does then give us a sense of it was some time that it took them to travel through the hyperspace to where they are now. So that we don't know the exact time, but we have a sense that, okay, it took some period of time, not just a little short
Yeah, we sort of
jump.
talked about them having a head start as well, which has obviously become important in the story, that they've gotten there with a rotation or a couple of rotations ahead of Ahsoka sort of bringing up the rear there. But yeah, it was good to see Ray Stevenson back as well. He's sort of moping around. He's up to something, Andy. What is Ray Stevenson up to here?
Your doppelganger.
I don't know.
Your Japan
I
celebration
wish.
cosplay.
I wish. I wish I was that good looking, my friends. I don't know. There's something deep. I'm loving this character because there's something a lot deeper there than which I think we already knew, or we were already. There was already some tidbits out there that kind of gave that kind of view of him, but I have no idea, and I hope, I truly hope it's not what he finds out there is not the solution to somehow Palpatine returned. I hope that's not.
I didn't even think
where
of
we're
that.
going
Don't
with
ruin
this.
it for me.
No. I'm saying I hope it doesn't. That's not the way it goes. I hope it's something that perhaps we don't truly get to understand in this series, or indeed the next series, if there is one, or indeed the movie, and it kind of becomes the segue to what the future of Star Wars will be going forward. I really, really hope there's something deep and dark, and the guy's clearly got this. I mean, he's very philosophical about everything.
He's kind of looking for a...
He
he
very much laments the.
More than a reset. He's breaking away. He's breaking the wheel. Like, he's got some whole new system coming up. So it's not Republic Empire. It's something new, a new beginning.
Yeah, and I think that's an exciting opportunity and a springboard to something in the future that I hope isn't reversely retconned into making sure that the sequel trilogy kind of matches.
It's a little sad because
in the future.
He's like, it goes Rebels, Imperials, Republic, Empire, and we know the First Order's around the corner, so kind of whatever he's got planned may not happen.
Yeah, but he's got his apprentice as well, too. And I think it's also that I know that Ray Stevenson's no longer with us, so if they decide not to continue with the character, he does have an apprentice who potentially could just pick up the mantle and run with it if it turns out that it's whether it's, I don't know, whether it's magic or if it's something well between worldsy, or if it's, I don't know, it's Dave's cooking something. He's got something cooking. I don't know whether
that's my point.
Thrawn, or whether it's to do with the planet. Yeah,
he's got an amazing opportunity there to actually make it bigger than the sequel trilogy, which for various reasons we have a lot of love and a lot of regret for, and so on and so forth. But there is an opportunity here, as I said, for this to launch into something that is bigger than all of us. As I say, it's big. It's bigger than the sequel trilogy. It's bigger than the Skywalker saga. It will take us into that next episodic movie trilogy or quadrilogy or whatever it is that comes in the future.
There's a theory actually, because by creating this whole new galaxy, imagine the Star Wars Skywalker canonical timeline. By creating this, alternate galaxy, you could sort of bring the characters into there and have their stories told, which don't counteract with or affect the Skywalker timeline and trilogy, and you can do basically whatever you want here. Oh, let's chuck Mando in here now. Let's get them all up here, away from there, and then
moving him to Queensland.
It's a whole new MCG that you could sort of have a coliseum of Star Wars in.
Yeah, Neighbours reference.
We had a lot of Neighbours references last week. So essentially, Sabine thinks that she's been sort of hard done by. She's locked up. Then they park the ship, and they get to the planet, and really cool design on the planet. The statues and things is really cool. It seems like this is where the Night Sisters have kind of come from to start with, and they're still there. And they pull up their groovy little golden ship that they've got, and there's 3 witches witching it up, standing there, sort of just waiting for their arrival. And and then they get that weird little ball thing, and they lock Sabine up again. So she kind of gets let out for a second. She gets basically transported from one cell to another cell, doesn't she?
Reeks a Jedi.
Yeah, that was quite cool. And she should be like, "Oh, thanks. I thought I was the worst. At least exactly. if I reek of it, at least I've got something going for me."
That's the only thing she's got going.
It's like a humble brag, isn't it? Just like, oh man, I just kind of reek of Jedi,
At least the Dathomirians think I reek.
Yeah. She was like, thanks, I've got my scent of Jedi.
I love the portrayal of the Night Sisters. I thought that was fantastic, and it wasn't overly comic book either. I was expecting kind of like very long, lots of prosthetics everywhere, but it was very, very for me, it was very, very natural. And I don't want to say too much because I was thinking there's an awful lot of this, especially their engagement with the blue guy. Reminds me of another franchise that we'll talk about later on.
Well, there's a lot of big Macbeth
relationship
vibes.
And
it was the 3 witches, and wasn't there is it a Macbeth reference in one of the titles, or is it maybe I'm getting my Shakespeare wrong? I'm not very good at Shakespeare.
Yeah, there was a
Toil and Trouble.
Boil and Trouble. Yeah.
Essentially, isn't Macbeth that the witches tell Macbeth that he's going to be the king and he's going to rule?
Yeah.
And
but the Ides of March and all that.
Yeah,
that's Caesar, isn't it?
That's Caesar.
Is it?
Oh. Yeah, but no. Yeah, the 3 witches tell Macbeth that he will be king, and they come into a little bit, but yeah, that's sort of their first.
Well, they're definitely in cahoots with Thrawn.
Yeah, and I love the effect that was used on their voices. How it was sort of given like an echoing, big feeling. It was really cool.
Yeah. So they take Sabine. Oh, sorry, Andy.
Sorry, now that Catherine has said that, they remind me very much of. I got a massive Dune vibe from this. I don't know if you guys have read or not so much the latest film, but the film with Sting in a budgie smuggler back in the 80s.
Don't stand so close to him, but
the relationship between Thrawn and the witches reminds me of the Emperor, and the way that he relies heavily on the Bene Gesserit sisterhood for advice, for guidance, and he berates them when they provide the wrong guidance and all that kind of stuff. I got some massive Dune vibes out of that. On top of that, aesthetically, it looked very, very Dune-like as well. For example, the little shuttle that came from the hyperspace ring looked awfully like, in that amazing gold color, looked awful like the original flyers that were designed for Dune. There's one of the biggest things I took away in my notes was a huge Dune vibe.
Yeah, I thought the design. We'll get all the rest of the design, but the design stuff was great in this episode. I thought that was just like took great stuff and made it better, and took familiar stuff and made it really interesting. But they basically lock Sabine up. They chuck her in another cell, and they say, "Yeah, Thrawn's expecting you, so sit tight. He'll be here shortly." And then we basically get this bloody big Star Destroyer, Matt, coming across the
Chimera.
Thing. Yep, it wasn't sort of disabled in space. We sort of had theories about whether they just pull up and it was floating in space, but it had a bit of work done.
It had significant damage on it, though. You could see the Purgle's crash marks and everything, and it had some wicked underbelly paintwork as well.
I've got to say, what an amazing parking job. That's like trying to park a dual cab Hilux with no reverse camera. Like, they just positioned that thing perfectly over the top of that little tower there. And they must have just, like, looking out the window, just sort of like, going, yep, a little bit forward, a little bit back. We got one shot at this, guys, to make first impression.
It's got to be good.
And
I always like a Star Destroyer hovering over a planet. It just looks cool.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive, and it looked like it had some repair stuff done to it as well. And I mean, Matt, take us from there. What happens then? This is your moment, buddy.
I blanked out after that.
So you woke up on the floor and the episode ended. You had to
just
go up.
Sticky pants and then just passed out. No, it was awesome. I do have one. I thought the music could have been a little more Thrawny, but it was still fantastic. Blustery? Yeah, a bit more organy, like they did in Rebels.
So thousands of stormtroopers shouting Thrawn was not enough.
Oh, that was pretty cool. Okay. Me and Jimmy Dice had a funny chat. He said, Thrawn's been eating well on this witch planet for the last 10 years.
I thought he was a little paunchy as well, and I know which is really unfair because Lars Mikkelsen's probably a bloke in his mid-60s or whatever he is. But it did sort of on that side look like he wasn't, Actually, and another thing I'd touched on earlier was...
He hadn't done any push-ups.
What we hadn't touched on was just the ring of the whale the bones around the planet, which was quite cool. Although I got vibes from... I don't know if anybody's ever seen this episode of a Red Dwarf episode where all the Ace Rimmers go to orbit a planet. Andy's nodding. He's seen that one, and that's didn't quite have the CG budget that this one does. It's a bit dated now, but that's exactly what that. Not to mention that Thrawn looks like Rimmer in his white admiral costume as well. when
I got a theory. I have a theory about Thrawn's paunch. I think that going back to your theme of
Thrawn paunch
of the cannibalism that's been going on. I don't think they have been eating the stormtroopers. I actually think they've been eating the snail people.
Oh, that's what Jimmy said. He said been eating the turtle people.
And I reckon they're just full of carbs and full of
big fatty sort of.
They're very high fat content.
You can scoop the fat off the top of the soup, but why bother? Just enjoy. That's where all the flavor is.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there he goes. He turns up. We sort of talked about how this was going to happen, Matt, but It was. I thought it was done really well because it was all the grandeur that you'd sort of expect, but just the twists and the way that just how they'd been living and the way the remnant looked and everything was so fresh and new and interesting that I was like, oh wow, this is really cool. I loved the stormtroopers. So he had his garrison there, but they've all kind of gone feral. They've all gone a bit Mad Max. They've all kind of patched up their uniforms, but in the same way, there's sort of still a uniform designed, sort of aesthetic carrying through. And I really loved. I mean, I was watching on my iPad quite close up, on the 4K sort of stream on my big iPad. Thrawn's uniform. If you look really closely, like he's done his best to kind of keep it pristine, but it's started to fray around the edges. You could see on the sleeves in places that it's sort of frayed, and he tried his best to keep it. He's a man, he probably irons it every morning, but it's like, even I can't. He's probably got a few in the cupboard as well. That's probably the one that's in the best condition. But yeah, I thought he looked pretty good. What did you reckon, walking and talking, Matt? This is your guy.
Yeah, look, I loved it. It's obviously pretty hard to make a blue guy look, 100% normal in live action, but as soon as he started talking, I was like, whoa, yep, we're good.
He had the presence, he had the temperament right, he felt threatening enough, a man in control.
The eyes were so red.
His eyes were very red, yeah.
No, it was awesome. Like, it'd been waiting for this a long time, and thank God the jacket came in time. But nah, absolutely floored from it. I was watching, my wife's upstairs. She just said, "Are you breathing?" I'm like, because I was just like going oh, a lot.
What about you, Catherine?
Yeah.
Did you? What do you reckon about it all? Now, you to contrary belief to some people on this podcast, you are pretty well versed in the ways of Thrawn. You've done a lot of the EU stuff. You've even got some of the new Thrawn books. Like, you know way around.
I've got all of the new
so
Thrawn
I know you're not quite changing your
old,
trousers like some people after this, but you're definitely an authority on this as well. How did it land for you?
It landed very well. He has the measure that Thrawn should have, the calm, even when things are unexpected. He never raises his voice or speeds up how he talks. He's always in control and measured. Lars Mikkelsen, in everything I've seen in, he's great. So, he did a great performance as voice on Rebels, and he's doing a great physical performance. And to just add on to what Matt was saying, because I'm on holidays, I managed to get a second watching, and I really noticed how good the blue did look, because I've been a bit about the green on Hera, that it hasn't been great. I've been a bit I think that the Hera at Baku looks better.
She does.
She does.
The one in it looks more like Hera than Obi-Wan's missus.
The green is better, but I think they did a great job with the blue and the red eyes. It's not just red contacts. They've obviously done other things
they've just
to it, but
CG'd
they've
him.
done a really good job.
It looked great. And so he's essentially, they rock up and, excuse me, and he's there in all his glory, and he's got all his mates with him. Who's left? All his supporters.
What I like, just to jump in there, sorry, with the stormtroopers, was that with some of them, it looked like things had broken and things, but they'd mended it, but with the gold or whatever. So, how there's that, Japanese or technique where if something's broken, you mend it, but you mend it, with
which
like
is
gold
what
or
Kylo
something
Ren
to
did.
show
That's what they
those
did with Kylo's
things.
helmet in Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
I don't know where they're getting all this gold from. Maybe
it's in them heels.
Peridian gold mines, dude. God.
Yeah.
It's in them heels. I just got that. Maybe it could be completely. I mean, on a planet like that, it could just be completely worthless. So they're just like, we just use it to mend the ship.
It's the galaxy's Ballarat, don't you know?
It's the sovereign hill.
Yeah. So that is such a Melbourne reference.
Yeah, there's probably not. There'll be a few people who get that joke. So he's got his crew. He's basically just sort of like, what took you so long? He does look like he's basically expecting them to be there. So it does seem like that the Night Sisters have been communicating with Morgan in some kind of Night Sistery way, and they've been relaying that to Thrawn. So he's basically ready to roll, and he's fully expecting that he's going to get ready to go, which probably means he's probably got somewhat of an idea of what's been happening in the other galaxy. It's not like he goes, so I assume the Empire's still in charge, and Darth Vader will greet me when I get there, and all that kind of stuff. Andy, you reckon he's sort of down with what's been going on? Knows what he's got to do when he gets back.
Well, the only one that's been telling him anything is the Night Sister mothers, isn't it? So if they knew, I guess he knew. So if Morgan communicated with them, this is what's happened since the time that. I'm assuming so. I'm assuming they've been relaying the information to him, which is the reason
Sports
why
results,
he's relying on them so much. Like exactly. And then is so disappointed when they didn't foresee Ahsoka coming back. Or sorry, Ahsoka traveling over.
Yeah, he doesn't see. He's definitely got some Jedi paranoia, hasn't he? He's a bit just like, these guys have messed with my plans a few times. I don't really like the idea of anybody being involved in this. So it was I did like the moment where they sort of mentioned that they've got Sabine. He's just like, there's a name that I know. Old buddy. Good to see a familiar face. But he basically gives her provisions, and they get her out of the cell and says, "Look, yeah, we said we'd take you to Ezra. Here's a dog you can ride, and here's a few provisions and your weapons, and we'll kick you out the front door, and good luck to you." And basically assumes that we'll just drive off without you, which is something we sort of talked about last week. Was sort of, if she gets there, they'll just assume that they'll just dump her on the planet, and away she goes. Good animal special effects this week too. I know you like a good loyal animal, Catherine. Did you?
Yep.
Happy with the dog companion?
Oh, doggy was so sweet.
Dog or wolf? Is this another Filoni thing? Is it? I mean, I look more like a wolf to me. No.
Oh, dog, wolf, very close. Horsey, just
bit of an all-rounder.
All the good stuff, and Sabine, not nice to yet another animal. Like, can we? Like, this is my major issue with Sabine, right? She leaves Loth Kitty with no babysitter, and she's then mean to Doggy, who's he's scared. He's at the place there's an ambush. He's acting scared instead of paying attention to Doggy. She's just like, "Oh, I can do anything. I'm a Mandalorian." No, didn't listen to Doggy. Doggy knew.
Maybe she'll take the.
And then she scolded Doggy for running away. That's what you should do if there's an ambush.
Maybe she'll take the dog back with, and the dog and the Loth cat can, hang out together and become best friends. Then have their own little Instagram account or something that people can enjoy. That so yeah, she runs into some bandits along the way. So there's not a lot of action in this episode, but I didn't think it was missed at all. But she pulled a few moves on the bandits. It's the stunt men with the suits on. They're wearing these suits this week rather than the other suits last week, and she pulls a few moves and fights them off as you do. And then
did the leaders of the bandits remind you of the Crimson Corsair guy?
Yeah, they did.
Force Awakens.
Yeah, definitely.
The guy with the big side bits.
So they were sort of anonymous bandits. I don't know whether they're just there for, although they do seem to be involved somewhat towards the end. And essentially the trail kind of goes cold. She's not sure where to go, and then she sees the dog sniffing on a rock, Matt. And when you see a dog sniffing on a rock, I don't know. For a second, I was going is everyone buried under this rock?
I thought I was getting this is he hiding underground vibe? But then when the turtle man came out of the rock, I was like, please don't tell me this is that creature from that episode with the droids. I was like, are you joking?
Oh, the little soldier guy. I was like, come on.
Meeble Gascon, is he here? And then thank God they're just weird turtle dudes, because I was like looking really closely and I was like, nah, don't do it. Don't do it, Dave.
I have to say, I loved that. That's just pure Star Wars to me. Like, I love
weird,
little
supreme.
little creatures that you make friends with who help you out. That was just some of the stuff in this episode, like new elevating classic designs, going to new places, new creatures. Star Wars is at its best when it sort of pushes itself a little bit, and I thought that all of that stuff worked really well. He was kind of like a crab people. That was sort of the vibe. He was a bit Cooper Trooper as well. I don't know.
No, fantastic.
He's cutie.
Yeah.
I can't wait for a plushie of him.
Yeah, well, right now the Disney marketing to sit there just clap this, rubbing their hands together, going,
I'll put it next to my puffer pig.
Yeah. Mind you, if we're waiting for Hasbro, that'll be another 18 months away.
Get the Black Series, yeah. There's a very good chance that'll happen. But, yeah, so he essentially notices that Sabine's got the Rebel symbol on her shoulder pad, and that he's got one as well. So he's one of Ezra's mates. So they lead Sabine down to this little village full of you get the obligatory, as they normally do in these things, new creatures. You show a few of the babies as well. Obligatory baby shot as well in there. Everybody spot that, I assume?
I didn't even see it. No.
Yeah, in a hammock.
Yeah. Ooh. It's always the same design, just with really big eyes.
Do you think they are they born with a shell, or do they take the shell off to get dressed? Because they're wearing clothes. one of the things that I thought of was, how do you wear clothes if this shell?
Maybe it's all clipped on from the front. Maybe it's like a Velcro thing. Maybe it's all front facing.
Okay, that
with just a belt around it, like a Ninja Turtle. Like, you know how the Ninja Turtles wear like one belt, and they just. But how does Raphael wear his trench coat? He just wears it over the whole thing, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen that Turtles movie yet. Hopefully this weekend. I still want to see that. I digress. But yep. So Sabine gets to the camp. She has a look around, and then all of a sudden, standing over on the side, with his rocking his beard, all grown up, Matt. Who's standing over there, mate?
Ezra, Jonathan Bridger.
Jonathan? Is that for real?
I made that bit up.
Do they have middle names in Star Wars?
They do, but I'm definitely not that one.
Who has a middle name in Star Wars that we know?
I'm sure
Grand
Lando
Admiral Thrawn.
Lando.
Grand was my father's name. You can call me. Are there middle names in Star Wars? God.
Yeah, I'm sure Lando's got one.
I have to message Alex and get him to answer for me.
They might be.
Yeah. I mean, in his Chiss language, Thrawn has got many names, and that is the hard bit of reading the Thrawn books, is that they all have a lot of names.
Oh, is that like Andre 3000? Do you know how Andre 3000 Outcast has got like 10 different names? Here we go. Andy's done some live research here.
Landonis Balthazar Calrissian.
Oh,
there you go.
All right, there you go. That sounds like he just gave himself that name, but maybe we'll find out in the Lando movie, which is now a movie this week.
William December Williams. Look, he could do anything he wants. That's Bill Williams' actual name? William December Williams.
Really?
Yes.
Damn. That's pretty impressive. I can't believe that we had Ezra Bridger come back and we already tangented off to something else. So, Matt, take us through it. Ezra's sort of standing there looking pretty cool. He's grown out the beard. He's a man now.
There were so many Rebels references. It was great. Like in the last video that he sent Sabine, he's like, "I'm counting on you, Sabine," and then he says, "I knew I could count on you." I'm like, "Oh, right in the Rebels feels." And then they chit chat a bit, and then to play Ezra's theme, I absolutely adore that theme song. I find it iconic Star Wars, and I welled up for that big time during that hug.
That's that's the least annoying Ezra's ever been.
He's grown up. He's not as annoying as you.
With like 2 minutes, I was like, "Oh damn, I like this guy now. He's not just giving me the shits." But no, he looked great. He looked cool. The guy playing him, sorry, I don't have his name in front of me.
Iman Esfandi.
He captured the young side, the mature side, the voice, the attitude. He really did sort of encapsulate it. I was really hopefully they'll do it next week, but I was really hoping for him to just. We just talked before about what Thrawn knew. I assume that Ezra knows nothing. It would have been nice if, did we beat the Empire? This happened. Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker. I can give you a rundown of all the things that have happened. But
yeah, he would know nothing because he did say to Sabine it was worth it. So he didn't even know the outcome of that Battle of Lothal or whatever it was that they took part in. But can I just, he asked Sabine, "How did you get here?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, that's not important." It's like, yes, it is. You came on a massive hyperspace ring with remnants of the Empire to collect Thrawn and take him back with his whole ship and troops and the witches and the cargo that they're loading on. It's a big deal. "Oh no, we'll talk about it later." I know it's a big important moment, Sabine, but come on.
You're like Aragorn in Lord of the Rings. "Give them a moment, will you, laddie?" She's just like, "Come on, let me just enjoy you for a split second, and I'll give you a little bit of the details of my teensy snafu."
So it seems like he's been kind of I mean, maybe they'll tell us more of that, but it seems that once they kind of got to the planet, he ran off pretty quick. He's like, well, I'm not hanging around on this ship. It's still a ship full of stormtroopers and Grand Admiral Thrawn here. I'm going to get off and I'm going to make a run for it. And it seems that he's just been sort of a thorn in their side. A thorn in their side ever since. It seems like they've kind of been trying to keep tabs on where he is, and he's been kind of messing with them every chance he gets. If he's got a little group of rebels, they're obviously doing something to sort of cull the numbers.
How in the last 2 weeks, we've had Ahsoka go, this is the Clone Wars. We've had Huyang going a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and now we've had Sabine go, Ezra and his rebels. Like, they're really getting everyone up to speed on just catching up.
It sounds a bit like Barbie and the Rockers, doesn't it? It's a bit sort of Ezra and the rebels. I don't know, Andy. What did you reckon? Is you happy to see Ezra back? Did you want a little more from him? You're just happy to have the reunion and worry about the details later.
I'm happy. I would have been gutted if it would have been the last episode, only because I felt that, I like this. Again, I'm going back to the pacing. I like this kind of pacing where it's like, well, we've got a story to tell. Let's get round to the story rather than leaving it as a cliffhanger at the end where we have to wait another year, or by rights of the writer's strike at the moment, it may well be 2 or 3 years from now. Mm-hmm. I just like the fact that they're getting down to the episode. What happens from here, I have no idea. I can speculate. But no, I was happy to see him. I hope he's going to be a big part of the next 2 episodes because while Ezra was a little bit bratty and clumsy when I used to, when I reflect on the old Rebel series, I think he's got a good story to tell, especially the way that they ended Rebels with his journey. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And I think the actor in any case is doing a really good job in demonstrating maturity. But I don't know if you noticed the last line he said were something along the lines of, I can't wait to get home, or I can't wait to go home, or I'm really, really looking forward to going home. That was classic Ezra. The way it was pitched, the way it was delivered was like,
the inflection
wow, that's really, really
was
clever.
Identical.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant. Yeah, that's exactly what I meant.
In the video, he says, I'm going to miss you all. I can't wait to come home.
Yeah.
And he says it again. It was just like, thank you, Filoni, for this Rebels goodness that I've been waiting 5 years for.
But there is a conversation to have between him and Sabine about the state of the galaxy at this moment in time and how she found him and how she got there and the means
how they're
going to
get
got
back
there.
Yeah, because she assumes that they're not being followed by Ahsoka as well. So
they'll have a huge fight, and then they'll have in some huff and puff, and then the space whales will just fly, and you go, actually, we're good. Let's get
all
going.
The pieces are sort of. I mean, so it seems that they're
Count for Ezra.
So they
give me my lightsaber back, bitch.
So essentially, they're loading everything off the Star Destroyer onto the hyperspace ring. They're not taking the Star Destroyer with them. Is that what they're basically spending 3 days doing? Loading everything on to the off the.
No, they were loading things onto the Star Destroyer.
Supplies from the catacomb.
Oh, okay. So they are going to. So the ring is going to envelop the Star Destroyer and take it with it. Then
Yeah.
The question is, what are they bringing up from the catacombs?
Oh, I have a theory.
The gold.
And this is linked to what you said earlier about the way that the way that the stormtroopers look, the way that they look, the way they're dressed, the way that their armor is broken, which I got some major Death Trooper vibes from. Not Death Trooper as in Rogue One, Death Trooper as in the EU Death Trooper, as in zombies. Bearing in mind, we've already seen that Marek is a force fart. That's been reanimated by the Night Sisters.
The green dust.
Is Thrawn's army a bunch of
dead
zombified
guys.
or living dead stormtroopers?
Army of the dead.
Well, it would explain the dude with the face mask who doesn't want to show his face. That he's got the face
because his
face is all messed up.
It's his voice. His voice is also the. We've all heard stormtroopers before their mic. Sorry, we've all heard stormtroopers before through their mic, and yet this guy, the way he speaks, is very similar to Marek.
Yeah,
Marek.
I'm shattered because that particular stormtrooper, like the captain, he's played by the actor who played Amos on The Expanse. And so I'd been dying to see him and see his lovely face. And
there we are.
no, we don't get to see him. But
or if we do, he's going to be all like...
I'd actually thought he'd be a great Eli Vanto, who's sort of Thrawn's everyday offsider. Aid. But every man. But my theory with what they're loading onto the ships, the cargo thing, I'm like, oh, they look like a bit of a coffin. I wonder if they're like loading on sleeping witches, some more Dothmiri witches
that would be so
to
cool.
take over the galaxy.
Well, I wasn't thinking about that, but that's pretty cool. Yeah, something's up.
Something's a brewing.
He's bringing up that army of the dead, a la talking Lord of the Rings again. Aragorn summoning the army of the dead here to go kick some heads. So there you go. That's how you manage to survive. What you get to eat the stormtroopers and then reanimate them to be in your army. So it's a win-win. So Paunch explained.
But look, see,
Paunch spelled out. No, I know. I'm looking at the Black series. He does. He's like, I'm in no position to talk about a bloke with a little bit of overhang. So
he might just be having a bloated day. Don't be mean.
He had too much salt in his stormtrooper nachos last night.
So I'm wondering whether we will get these reveals, whether they'll do these big reveals now. Where all the pieces sit now is essentially they're loading up and they're getting ready to get out of there. Ezra and Sabine assume that they're going to have to get back onto that hyperspace ring somehow before it takes off so they can get home because they think they're not being rescued. Meanwhile, Balin and his apprentice are, going to want to off them basically before that they can do that. So there's a few things, and then Ahsoka and the Tenet 1000 are on their way. So all these things are going to sort of converge in a way, and we sort of talked about like where does this hang? Do we have 2 episodes of conflict, and then at the end they get back, or do they have to get back and Thrawn's escape when they get back? Or I don't know. Like I feel like that they kind of need to get everybody, I assume, back to the other galaxy. But who knows? Like, I'm assuming that the New Republic's going to turn up too late at the very end anyway, but they'll enough to know that Thrawn's back in play.
I think we'll have 1 episode of Peridium-style conflict. Maybe even 2. I don't know. Like, you'd think that the season will end with Thrawn returning to the main galaxy and leaving it just on that note. And sort of everyone theorizing what the chaos to ensue will be next.
Yep. Are we going to get a Ewok-style crab people uprising, kind of helping to get them back, sort of, swinging from ropes or throwing, doing some jumping off ledges, shell down to knock some stormtroopers in the head kind of deals, or?
Yeah, well,
I think we're owed it, aren't we?
Sorry?
I think we're owed it, aren't we?
Yeah.
It's been years since we've had something
Rise of the Turtle people.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's have it.
I have a question, though. Like, why didn't Ezra just get a lift back with a Purgle?
How's he going to get into space?
Oh, yeah.
Although you think if he's resourceful enough, he could have maybe got a ship.
Can I just hang in the tongue? I don't know.
But did he direct the whales to go? He got them there. I don't know whether he actually told them where to go, though. Did he?
He did. He told them. He brought them in, and then he told them.
They might not have been back since. I mean, who knows? If they usually only go there to die, they probably don't usually leave.
Was it the Little Mermaid where King Triton had a dolphin on each foot that took him through the
yes
through the water?
I should
Yeah,
know
I'm
that.
thinking that
Little
was the
Mermaid's
way
got a lot
that
of play at our house.
maybe that's how Ezra saves the day. He'll come in waving his lightsaber on the back of a Purgo, Ben Hur style.
I just
You
don't
never
think
know.
that there'll be. I just think, given that we know that there's more to come, and given that you have an opportunity to get a bad guy like Thrawn into play, which I think this Star Wars TV series could really use, whether he's in the shadows and doing stuff, whether it's Mando season 3 or Skeleton Crew or whatever it is, leading up to this movie. I just don't think it's not gonna end with them being stuck on this planet at the end. You're not gonna thwart Thrawn. There's a tongue tie at the end of this with him not being able to leave this planet. Like, I feel like he's got to get back.
Well, I reckon. I mean, that's the thing. I think they have a little battle when she arrives. He's already said, "Kill any Purgle you see with prejudice." There's going to be some sort of battle between Ahsoka and Thrawn on this planet. They'll escape, and then pick up Thrawn and Sabine and take them back, and back to the galaxy. I think
He's not really a brawler though, Thrawn, though, is he?
Well, no, but the Purgles can take down the Star Destroyer with their face. They can just face fist it, like they did on Lothal. But I don't know. I hope we don't see. I don't think Catherine can handle a couple of more dead Purgles in space.
Look, I got sad enough at the idea of that's where they go to die, because this is going to be upsetting, but it brought up images in my mind of whales going and beaching themselves. So it's really
I hope they don't just become kind of cannon fodder. I don't hope they're not just like, let's just ram the ship with the Purgles. And I don't think that's really Ahsoka's game. I think she'd be like, just drop us off and we'll figure it out. If it all goes to plan, we'll stop them and we can take the hyperspace ring home. You've done enough. You can't really, a bit like the Eagles in, again, Lord of the Rings reference, you can't just keep relying on the Eagles to take you around everywhere to solve all your problems. They'll sort of come in, they'll help you, and then they'll rack off. So something's going down. On this planet. Who faces off against who? Does Sabine fight the apprentice girl again? Does Ahsoka face off to Balin? Does Ezra get involved? There's a few pieces of at play here now.
I actually think it's going to be a 2-part finale. I think we might it might be not a slow episode, but they'll only give us half the story and split it over 2, and maybe you might see a bit of politics back on the other galaxy with Hera, and you never know if we might get some sort of Senator Organa cameo or something,
the mop up at the end sort of thing, because
I mean, Hera's just hanging around there. They'll go back to her or something. So let sort of draw it out a whole episode and then leave you hanging for a week right at the crescendo of action.
Well, if they bring back the Chimera, the Star Destroyer, that's evidence enough. So if they jump back to where they started and the New Republic's there in some description, and they see the Chimera, even if it racks off pretty much as soon as it gets there to some other part of the old galaxy, that's enough to be like, oh, looks like he was back.
It's going to finish like Harry Potter. He's back.
Well, Olive, my oldest daughter's reading Order of the Phoenix at the moment, which is literally like Voldemort comes back in the book before, and then the whole 5th book is the government trying to control the message, saying that he's not back and that Harry's full of rubbish, and there's nothing to worry about, everybody. So potentially that could be a thing where it could be a few people, maybe Hera sees it and a few others, and she's like, he's back, and they're all like, you bloody scaremongering again. Sorry,
I love the way that they've brought... No, it's fine. I just to kind of reiterate what I was saying earlier on, I love the way that they're bringing back Thrawn as someone that's really a real credible threat to the galaxy. But he's not but there's an insinuation there that he's not the big bad. I love that. And I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself again, but the idea that the Filoniverse will take us so far with Thrawn, or could take us so far with Thrawn being the big bad, but Thrawn wants to get away because he's running away from something more powerful than that. For me is spine chilling.
Yuzong Vong.
No. Not the Yuzon Vong and not Palpatine. It's something else. And that, like I said, it could be 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now that we actually find out what that is. But the fact that it's not pigeonholed in this finite canon that we've established today, I think is really, really exciting for me.
How does he die? Thrawn gets killed by one of his own dudes in the book, doesn't he? Doesn't one of his the what are they called? He's got those
Nogri.
The Nog, yeah. One of those guys kills him in the battle, doesn't it? Isn't that how he dies in the book? He kind of gets
in the old EU.
Yeah, he gets betrayed by his.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while. I can't remember.
I erased that from my memory. I got a message from Turbo. In the subtitles, Thrawn's troopers are called Night Troopers. Are these zombie-like troopers created by Night Sisters?
Hello, Turbo.
Andy Bell is on the money.
See,
Turbo
was back last
can
week.
always rely on him.
We're going to have to see if we can do four guests at once soon. We're almost maybe for finale. We push the limits of Zencaster to see if we can get. Catherine's got a copy of The Last Command in her hand right now. Just find out how. And he goes, it was all
page 357.
I think I almost remember because he goes like, it was also artfully done. That was his last words. Were like, it was also artfully done, or something like that. I can't remember. It was. I think I read the comic more than the book, but I have read both of them. So, yeah, I mean, there you go, Matt. He didn't turn up in the last 10 seconds of the last episode as a stinger. He's in play for the next two, and he's front and center. So, you got your wish.
I'm very happy, very content. Got a nasty dry cleaning bill, but whatever.
Hey Matt, are you happy with the hair? Because I know that Jimmy in particular was a little bit concerned about the follically challenged Thrawn that we saw in the trailer last year, earlier on this year. You happy with the Lego hair they gave him?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. Someone said he looks a bit like a fat Elon Musk.
Do you think he's got like that hair in a can sort of thing? That have you ever seen those the ad that he's just put these?
Well, he's got a real Gelmit sort of style here on my toy, but
he does go back a bit there on his head.
It does. I mean, look, you're doing the best you can. You can't unless you CGI it. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, look, I think that, like you said, we were talking about, the famous poster at Celebration that had Pierce Brosnan on it, effectively, which probably as a likeness might be slightly closer, but you can't argue with the voice, and I think he gets the presence right, and I think that carries it.
And the acting,
the
pause,
those Mickelson.
When Morgan questioned him only sending two divisions or two troops, squads. Thank you, two squads, and he's got that really, really protracted pause before he responds to her. Absolutely brilliant acting, fantastic, really.
And that's something only the voice actor could actually. Could anyone taking it else on wouldn't be able to sort of, or they could, but it would just take so long to perfect, and because he's it's just comes natural to him, and he's such a good actor as well. He combines the two, and nuts.
Yeah,
like as soon I thought I read something that he was actually going to not change the voice, but he's going to do a different play on it. But it was just so good.
And it doesn't always, there aren't too many that carry over. Obviously Katie Sackhoff, but they made her character look exactly like her in the cartoon. There aren't too many voice people who can kind of carry over, and he sort of seems to be close enough. Funny thing is, we're talking about when we were sort of talking about what we expected to see in this thing. No Ashley Eckstein cameo,
not yet,
and no Zeb either, which I thought were the sort of two locks.
Well, that's you'd think that if Hera's command is taken away from her, that's when sort of Zeb might go, "Fuck this, I'm out," and then join the party.
Well, she goes rogue and just rounds up some old mates to get involved, perhaps. But I was very surprised. No, Ashley Epstein. And I guess at the same time is, do they want to just burn her in a cameo? I feel like Filoni wants to give her a role with more weight so she can still be involved. You know what I mean? Still involved in Star Wars. Yeah. Like, hey, look, if we give you a character that we can bring you back, the episodes. We can bring you back in the movie. You've got something that you can actually lean on rather than like, oh, look, she was, X-Wing pilot number 3, and there you go. And that was the thing that she did.
Yeah. Because the guy who played Anakin in the Clone Wars, whose name I've forgotten for the moment.
Matt Lanter.
Matt
Lauer of CBS.
Yeah, he was like the
dorky stormtrooper or the rebel trooper on the prison.
Yeah, on the prison ship who got murdered.
Yeah, so that's it. His cameo's cooked. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, I feel like you need to. I think Filoni's a little bit more conscious of that. I don't think he wants to burn that presence. So
yeah. And I'm doing a rewatch of Battlestar Galactica, and Sam Whitner is in it.
Did you say this last week? You literally brought this up last week.
Yeah, but I'm sorry. It just every time he's on the screen, I just want to scream Kenobi.
No. Oh my god! I can't believe we're having this same conversation again. This is this bloody Whitweird talk. It's like
I have no one to talk to during the week.
It's like Hawes and his beef with Sam Whitwer.
Hey, that's a pod I would listen to, guys. If you guys are ever thinking about recapping on Battlestar, that's one hell of a series. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've just about covered this thing. We've hit the hour. Plenty to talk about this week. Where do we go from here? How do we top this? I think this was the best episode of the season. I think
I could read Thrawn's death.
Maybe we'll save that for next. We'll compare if they kill him off in the next 2 episodes. We can compare notes. But I think this was the best episode of the season. I thought the design was amazing. I thought the story moved at a clip. We got to see all these pieces have moved into place in a really, really interesting place. I liked last week, but this is what it's all about. This was about for me. So I'm really looking forward to seeing where it goes. Any closing thoughts on this one, Andy, before we send it home, mate?
No, I'm like I said before, I'm chuffed like yourself that it's progressively getting better episode by episode. Looking forward to Thrawn getting back to the galaxy that we know and love with an army of the undead. Whew. An army of the undead in his hold.
Catherine, how about you, mate?
Riches. So I noticed in the credits Claudia Black from Farscape and then Stargate was there, and so she's one of the witches. I can't tell which one just yet. But yeah,
isn't she a Star Wars writer, Claudia Black? No,
that's Claudia Gray.
Claudia
that's
Gray.
Pretty close. Come on. Matt, we have to end on you this week. You've been waiting a long time, mate. What are your closing thoughts on this one before we send it home?
Looking forward to see this dark magic and the alliance that he's got with the Dathomir witches, because it seems like he's promised to bring them back because they're stuck or something. So, but if they were there just being witchy, I don't know. You think they'd have the means to go back? But I don't know. He's strung up some alliance, which is what he does. Find the power base, make it happen. He's going home.
Cutting some deals.
I think we're in for a really good 2 episode. Like it ended with the Thrawn style music, which I loved. It was just ominously awesome.
Well, you can go and watch it now. You finish up here. You can go watch it again before bed.
Now, I know it's your show. Can I ask a few questions? Josh, how many times have you watched the last episode before this one?
The Anakin episode? I watched it twice. So I watched it when it came out, and then I actually watched it, was it that night or the night after I watched it? And I had to pick up Olive from school because I had this late night school camp thing, and she came home and I was watching it. And it's quite funny because she's seen original Recipe Star Wars. That's the only one she's seen all the way through. She's about half of Empire. So she doesn't know that Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader are related. So she came in right at the bit where Anakin was there in the flashbacks, and she's just like, "Oh, who's that?" I'm like, "Oh, that's Anakin." And I go, and she recognized Ahsoka because she'd seen pictures of Ahsoka and some of the Coles stuff, and we've got some Clone Wars plates and stuff. She never watched the show though. But then she saw like the bits flashing between Darth Vader, and she's like, "Is that Darth Vader? Does he become Darth Vader?" I'm like, "Well, you just have to watch." And then they sort of showed where he turned and went bad, and she was like, she put her hand, when she doesn't like something, she puts her hands on her ears, and she's just like, oh, I don't know about this. So just keep watching. And then he kind of went good again, and she's just like, "What is that? Is that Darth Vader? Is that who Darth Vader is?" And I said, "Yeah, that's who becomes Darth Vader." But I didn't say it was Anakin Skywalker. I just said his name was Anakin. And yeah, and then she went to the toilet and brushed her teeth and came back out to say goodnight. And she saw Rosario Dawson staying on a ship talking to a whale, and she's just like, "This is weird. Like, what is this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Star Wars can be pretty weird sometimes." So I've watched it twice, Matt, to answer your question.
That was 2 times in 5 minutes. Andy, how many for you, buddy?
So I was on leave last week, so I've seen it quite a few times during downtime and on the beach and on the phone and everything. I'd say 3 or 4 times. Let's say 4 times.
Catherine?
It's the only one. It's the only one that I have actually watched more than twice.
Once.
Just the once.
All right. Are we 5 times?
4, and then I watched it 43 minutes before I'm not doing a lot of work at the moment. I started at 10:17. I wanted to time it perfectly so that when it finished and I got through the subtitles, it would say next episode.
Oh, it would roll in already.
Just roll in, and I got it just right.
Oh, my goodness. Well, maybe you can beat that record this week. All right, we've got to roll this sucker up. Everybody needs to get to bed. We've got another big week of waiting around. It's grand final week next week as well. So, there's a lot going on down here in Melbourne.
Stay healthy, stay alive, live another 7 days.
That's right. Thank you so much, guys.
Don't want to miss it.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. The downloads have been great. Thank you. I think some people actually did some 5-star reviews as well. So thank you for doing that. If you haven't done it, do it anyway. And we'll be back next time. See you guys.
Thrawn.
Bye. Bye.